Welcome, everyone. This is the She Sailor Sea Story. Our next storyteller uses adult language. So here we go. Who the hell is Skipper Jenn? She is a human being, an artist, a coach, a mental health therapist, a writer, a friend, a mermaid, a student of life and lovers of all things that shine and sparkle. She owns Poop Deck, a 1976 Ranger 29.
All right. Well, when Debbie, I haven't been on socials for a while for my own sanity and mental health, but when Debbie reached out for talking with you all, I jumped on it for sure. Anything for Debbie and NWSA. And ship's log was broad, but what Debbie didn't know when you asked me to do this talk is that I'm really into my actual ship's log. So obviously I have my blog over at skipperjenn.com, which is kind of like a ship's log, right? I mean, I post videos, I write about it, which was never to be one of those YouTube stars or something. Honestly, I started it for my mom and a couple of friends just to see what I was up to. And then it just kind of exploded because apparently people like my F-bombs and sparkle. So this is actually my ship's log from my boat. And I really feel like my boat is like my baby. So when I started my ship's log, besides just putting in, all the data and stuff, I was like, oh, it's like her baby book. So this is the cover, and the top stickers are some of the swag that I do because I write about diversity and I just like making crazy art. And at the bottom, it says really cool shit we have done. So we'll get into some of the cool shit I've done. Next slide. So I debated on whether putting this in here or not, just because it's not the most exciting page in my logbook. But first of all, I really love the sticker because it's, I want to be where the people aren't. I don't want to see them near me. If that sounds familiar to any of you on in the cruising scene, that is definitely how I feel. It's how far away from people can I get out in the quiet anchorages of the Coast Salish Sea. And I did a kind of smart but dumb thing. They say that the best days in your life are the day you buy your boat and the day you sell your boat. And at one point in the refit and stuff, I was really frustrated on how many days am I actually sailing on the water? And I've got them posted up there. And I also, it seems like it's not a lot of days, but a lot of them are 2 days sailing, but 7 days at a beautiful anchorage. So there's that. There's also all the days that I just go to my boat. I can walk to my boat from my house and just read a book, cozy inside or bask in the sun on the decks. And I did live on my boat for almost 2 years. So there's a couple 365s in there, which to this day, living indoors again, every time I run the hot water, I'm so grateful, because doing dishes on a dock with the hose in the Pacific Northwest cold winters was not fun. Here's a word of advice. Do not count the days that you work on your boat because you will rapidly become a little bit overwhelmed. At the same time, other bit of advice, don't get a boat unless you like working on your boat. So next slide. So this is her gotcha day. This is the day she was born for me. And I have a fun little story. I got over at my blog, I got an entire section just about my boat on there, and the full origin story of Poop Deck, the name, and the day I got her is all on there. But I want to tell some pieces that weren't actually written down in any of that. So first of all, Eric and I both, we weren't living together at the time, and both of us saw this ad for this boat, and I kind of passed it. I was like, oh, cute, but passed. Eric called me up and he's like, we got to go see the boat. And I was like, I saw it, but I'm going to pass. He goes, but Jen, the name is Poop Deck. And I was like, oh, well, now we got to go see it. Cause I knew it was going to be my boat just from the name that already came with it. We all know, hopefully, that Poop Deck is a nautical term, but I have a 12-year-old boy sense of humor. So I've kind of taken that to the extreme on the potty humor. But my best friend and my brother, I didn't have cash at hand, and we were kind of running a tight schedule. And so I actually asked him, he always has a wad of cash hidden somewhere. And I was like, can you bring it? And then I'll pay you back later in the day. So he rushes over to the marina across town. He gives me the cash. I got the boat for a whopping $4,000. So excited. There's the picture. And then that jackass later in the day said, don't pay me back. So I want everybody to know that I have the best friend in the entire world, and he bought my boat for me. So there's that part of the picture. The other piece is just me on my very first sail, which we all know the elated feeling that has. And, you know, she's, I did it like a fucking boss right there. So obviously scrapbook style, lots of stickers, lots of stuff. So next slide. Now we've all had the sails where they didn't go the way that we planned it. And so this was my second sail in my boat. And we decided, Eric and I, to take safety at sea, right? Because I want to sail to Alaska and her at some point, maybe in the next couple of years, actually. And so I was like, well, we should take safety at sea. So, you know, March, Pacific Northwest, our sailing seasons, right? Really spring and fall, really windy, very spirited sail down. It was cold. It was windy, but it was fine going down. That's the fucking cold page right there. So we do safety at sea, right? Which I really recommend everybody do safety at sea, especially the part, you learn so much, but the part of jumping into a pool fully in all your gear, letting your life jacket go off and trying to get your ass up into the inflatable raft. And like, I'm a pretty strong athletic person, and oh my God, that was so hard to get up in there. Really recommend it. So we do all of this. And then there's a small craft advisory. And Eric's been sailing for 30 years and I've been sailing for about a year. And Eric's like, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, oh, it's fine. So we go. Mind you, coming off of the safety at sea, you know, 2-day thing, we leave in a small craft advisory, and we rounded this point over in Bay Bridge Island, and just the shit hit the fan. We've all been there, right? It got loud, it got scary, everything was crashing. I'm a new sailor. And I remember just like looking down at my hands, and I was like, those are hands. And there was like a line in one, and I literally couldn't register what anything was. I was like, I don't know what that is. I don't know what to do. I just locked up. Now I'm a mental health therapist, right? So I am my specialist trauma and anxiety. So I knew in that moment that my body was in total fight or flight, had completely just shut down. My brain was no longer working. Eric's like, Jen, get the line around the winch and pull in the sail. And I'm like, kind of like barely able to move, finally kind of get it done. And then he just kind of took over, and I sat and I did a bunch of deep breathing and skills that I have as a therapist. Man, that ride home, the waves were as big as they get in the Salish Sea, and he was working it pretty hard. We learned a lot of valuable lessons. First of all, my boat is fucking sturdy. She is a fat bottom girl, wide hips, very, very sturdy, right? Second of all, we need to have better communication before we leave the dock, particularly in a small craft advisory. Third of all, and I have it in glitter stickers here, hells to the no. I do not want to go out in conditions like that, like intentionally, ever again. If I get caught out in it, I know I can do it now. But I do not like sailing in big wind like that. I think it was blowing like 35 out here, and the waves get steep. No. And it was really fucking cold. I like my stickers because at the top, it was shit could be worse, right? And that is absolutely true, right? But it was pretty bad. So yeah, it was effing March, Bien. That's exactly it. So that's this page to remind me of that story. This one's really special to me because it was our first like longer cruise on Poop Deck. And I refit her pretty much, like I would say 80-85% of the work has been me. And then Andrew and Eric, my male entourage, have helped me with the other like 10-15%. But man, I put a ton of work into that boat. And finally she was ready to go out in July. Yes, much more sensible. We were going to try to make it all the way up to Susha, because I'd been sailing up here before many times, but not on my own boat and not to Susha. So we were going to do that. But, you know, the first page, like we make it to Port Townsend, everything's good. I'm like living the dream, because here's the thing about sailing. And you all know this because you're sailors. We're dreamers, right? It all starts with the dream. Like you have anchorages, the wind in your hair, you know, all the things. So I'm living the dream. I'm on this big high. And then we go from Port Townsend up to Orcas Island, and my engine starts to take big shits everywhere I go. Like it is not working. It's breaking down. All these problems are happening. And we have to sail into Friday Harbor and I have to dock the boat under sail. Okay. I had never done this before. And so I came in through, Eric and I talked it through a bunch, came in, I did it. I docked that like a boss. It was amazing. And this is the picture, the evidence that we have of my boat at the dock. And I had gotten blow pops and we were just being badasses on the dock after my my docking. And another thing about my logbook that I meant to say up front is a picture says 1,000 words, right? So like when I go through my logbook, I can pull these back and I can read about the conditions and read about what happened and all the stuff. And that's helpful. But really, I just like to flip through and look at the fun pictures. There's also, obviously through my emojis, we made out a whole bunch on the boat. So that was a good memory to have. And then this picture at the bottom corner, it says, and then what happened? Well, I didn't know it in 2018, but I live right now on that hill behind that boat. So who knew that many years later, my boat is docked like on a finger pier near where it's at in this picture. And I live up on that hill and I can walk down to my boat and dream big, people, dream fucking big. So then in the refit, right? So basically I've redone all her electrical after that trip. Oh my God, the whole engine's been rebuilt. I have to put a new alternator on now. That's the last little thing that I got to do. But like everything's been rebuilt on her atomic 4 engine, gas engine, running smoothly. And I was like, oh, we gotta get sails. So I got a big rainbow heart sail on my boat because I'm fucking cool. This one is really special and it should be to all of us. So the week that the world shut down and the pandemic happened, I had her hauled out and I was doing the last little bits. I was putting a bottom on her and I was buffing the top sides and putting on my graphics. So this was like one of those high highs and low lows because the world was starting to go to crap all around me. And I'd had this dream even before I got the boat that I really wanted to have a giant unicorn farting a rainbow on my boat. I was going to call my boat Unicorn Farts because I had this dream that I would pull into ports and then old men would have to be like, to hail me, they'd have to be like unicorn farts, unicorn farts, unicorn farts, but pooped up works just as well. And oftentimes they ask me, how do you spell that? And I love hearing them say over the radio, or me say over the radio, P-O-O-P every time. So yeah, fuck yeah, I put a big giant rainbow farting unicorn on my boat. And I did it the week the world stopped, and we literally got out of dry dock the last day that they were running the lifts before everything shut down. So, and we were living aboard at the time, so we would have been stuck on the boat in dry dock had that not happened. So the timing all worked out as well as it possibly could in the middle of global chaos. So in 2021, Eric has been up here for a long time, part of the Sloop Tavern Yacht Club, and he was part of the board. And we've done a lot of different social action and activities with that club. They've been so inclusive and run so many great events like Women at the Helm and Women at the Helm Going the Distance. And I was like, hey, we need to get the gays together and have a pride float. And so we did. We made a sticker. We went out. My boat is gayed up 24/7. I'm queer. I write about diversity all the time, got our flags out, and we had a ball that day. And so here's my parting thoughts to you all. When you think about your logbook, when I flip through my logbook, everybody that's ever sailed on my boat has a picture in my logbook, and it just feels like such adventure, such love, such fun, right? I also want you to think about, and this is where coming off the back of the adventure sailing, I love that program so much for the same reason. You got to really think about what is the diversity of people coming out on your boat, right? Do they all look like you? Do they all think like you? They all have similar backgrounds, social status, so socioeconomic, are they all straight? Really think about that in your life, because we all love the water so much, right? And we all want to be out on the water. And I started my blog because I was running into sexism, but as I got further into the community, there's definitely still a lot of racism, a lot of homophobia. There's definitely a class issue in sailing. And so really think about how you're trying to be inclusive on your own boat and in your clubs and communities. And yeah, go out, be safe, and have some fucking fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.